I wanted to introduce you guys, man. This is super exciting. I want to introduce Greg O'Brien and Shaun Canoy from the OCB. They're our new members, the All Me Advisory Board, so we're so proud to have them. And for those of you that are tuning in and might be new to the Taylor Hooton Foundation, I lost my young brother Taylor when he was in high school, making an uneducated decision to use anabolic steroids. And for years, we have worked hard at young people, adult influencers, about the dangers of appearance and performance. So our mission is to enlighten the world to the truths about appearance and performance. And outside education, we have an amazing group of advisory board members that we call our All Me Advisory Board members. And it started with Major League Baseball players, and we have Olympic athletes, and recently we partnered with the OCB, and we have 2 professional natural bodybuilders on with us, 2 of our newest All Me Advisory Board members. So I just wanted to, it's cool to finally be able to, talk to you guys and have a conversation, but thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. It's definitely a pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool, man. I love this topic. And I want to start, I guess, Shaun, I'll start with you. What is the OCB? What does that stand for?
Organization Competition of Bodies.
Okay.
That's what the OCB stands for. It's a natural bodybuilding organization.
How often do you guys compete? I mean, how many shows there typically throughout a year?
Oh, wow. So the OCB is growing at an exponential rate right now. There's, man, I don't know how many they're doing now. Each year, there's more and more shows all throughout the U.S. I personally, I think the most I've done in a year was like 3 in a year.
Yeah, that's usually what I do, 2 or 3 as well.
Okay. I guess that's pretty hard, because I want to talk with you guys about sort of what it takes to prep to get your bodies ready for a show, the hard work that goes into it. So I guess, Greg, we'll go over to you next. Is how did you get into bodybuilding?
So I was always into sports ever since I was, probably 9 years old. I started playing baseball and, immediately picked up on just the competitive nature of it. I love the athletic ability of everyone. And, I played baseball. And so I was, in a high school and just loved the competitive nature of it. And as I started to get a little bit older and started working and things like that, at that point I started getting into weightlifting and going to the gym and things like that. I started lifting weights in the basement with my dad when I was about 15 years old. So as I got a little bit older and started to transition out of playing sports, I started picking up more into weightlifting and following these guys and seeing kind of, what natural bodybuilding was all about. And it was always interesting to me. And then the gym where I work, there was a bodybuilder that started working there, a natural bodybuilder. And I was amazed by it, watching him train every day, and just seeing the dedication that he put into it. So I actually started training with him for a couple of years, and he put me on the stage for the first time. And I was hooked from day one. It was unbelievable. You get under those lights, you feel that rush. The camaraderie of everyone, backstage. Shaun, I know you know all about that. The camaraderie is just unbelievable. And, from that day forward, I've done 10 shows since then. I fell in love with it. And, to be able to kind of teach other people the same thing and show people the journey along the way has really just been something else. So, I really enjoyed doing it every day.
Sweet. What about you, Shaun? How'd you find your way into bodybuilding?
Well, like Greg, I've always been involved in sports, athletics, and stuff like that. So typically, I was in the gym all the time, working out, and eventually, some of my friends were like, "Hey, Shaun, you should go compete in a physique competition. You would do really good." And I was against it. I was like, I'm good, man. I don't need to do all that. And over time, people kept on saying, "Shaun, you should really do it. You do well." And, I was against it because, all I'd heard about before was an NPC. And, I didn't want to take any steroids or anything like that. I thought that was what it was all about, which we're going to talk about a little later. And, finally, enough people said, "Shaun, you need to do it." So I finally decided to try it out and ended up doing pretty well at my first show. And I was like, man, okay, this is pretty cool, So that's when the bug bit me.
Sounds like, I don't know how you guys do it. I guess once you finally get up on stage, and I mean, because you're not really wearing a whole lot, and A lot of people ask me the same thing about public speaking. How'd you do it? Well, I kind of, I had to go up and do a program, and you just get up there, and once you're under the lights and whatever, you just kind of get comfortable and you go. I mean, you still get butterflies, I'm sure, before you show.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you said, once you get up there and once you get going, you kind of just forget about all that, It's just you and the judges when you get up there. That's it. No one else around, no one else on stage. It's just, and like what I see is just when you get to that point, the work's already done. You're just up there having a good time at that point, So
Exactly.
you just forget about everything else that's going on.
So once you get on stage, typically how long are you on stage before, like how long, when they're judging you, if you will?
It really depends on how large the show is.
Okay.
If you have like a smaller show where there's not many competitors, typically it could range from 5, maybe 10 minutes, who knows? But let's say you're at the World Championship, like Yorton Cup. I think last time I was competing there, Greg was there as well. I mean, they had us on stage. I think it was maybe 15, maybe 17 minutes, something like that. So you're up there
like an
the whole time.
Hour and a half too while you're up there.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Feels like eternity.
Yeah.
But
Here's up there flexing.
Are you up there by yourself or like guys?
Nah,
So
what were
there's
those
different-
classes, Shaun? They were pretty big on, when we did Yorton. What were they? Maybe like 15 deep, something like that, 12, 15 deep. Yeah, it was pretty
Roughly.
big.
They split it up into like 3 different classes. Last time I was there, it was 2018.
Yeah, and that's actually where I met Shaun too. I've seen Shaun's name for a long time in the industry, and we actually went against each other in that show. So, and Shaun beat me. I'll admit he took me in that one. But that's what's great about it too. Is just like when we show up there, we're competing against each other, but now here we are working with each other. You know what I mean? It's just like we feed off each other, and we just constantly want to see each other do better. And that's what's great about the sport. You kind of just bring the best out of each other,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I want to get both of your reactions on this statement, because I know you would both agree that many people think about appearance and performance substances, right? And anabolic steroids, especially when it comes to the term bodybuilding, right? So both you guys compete in an all-natural competition. You guys are both professionals. What is your reaction to people generalizing all bodybuilders as steroid users?
So at first, it used to bother me at first, I think, because, everyone thinks you're just trying to take the easy way out, that, you can't get like that naturally. And at first it's kind of frustrating because you just feel like, people aren't giving you the credit that you deserve for the work that you put in, But then as I started getting a little bit further into it, I almost started to like feed off of that a little bit, It's like, you know what, I'm going to prove to everyone now that I can do this naturally and I can, put in the work every day. And over time, as I started competing more naturally and everything and seeing all the guys around me that were doing it, I just wanted to start getting out into the world and teaching people that, you can achieve this without any kind of performance enhancers or anything like that. And, as people started following more, I started doing more shows. I think it kind of brought some recognition to the natural thing and that you can actually do that naturally, and you do still, like, obviously a lot of people question that right off the start. If I pull up a picture of a show, it's the first question that everyone asks, So like I said, I don't let it get to me that much anymore. And I try to start to flip it into like a teaching experience where I can show them, what it takes to actually get there, the time that we all put in. And, it's just, it's an everyday job. It's, really what it is.
What about you, Shaun? I'm always interested in the take on this.
Yeah, I think overall it just really it comes from a lack of education. You look at any big celebrity bodybuilder. They're always on steroids. The main celebrities, right? So, and people, they just see that in the media. It's flooded all throughout the media. NPC or Arnold Schwarzenegger. All these big time celebrities and stuff like that. So that's all people see. So they're automatically gonna associate you with that because you just mentioned, hey, I'm a bodybuilder. Oh, okay, you're one of those guys, right? So, and now, thankfully, natural organizations are growing so much, like the OCB, right? More and more people are saying, oh, okay, there's a natural bodybuilding organization, right? So now that it's getting out there, I hear it less and less now. So
And the way these
that's the
shows
beauty
are
of it.
growing now too. I mean, you see over 100 people competing in these shows a piece now. So when I started competing, I've done shows that were 40 people, 50 people, and now you're starting to see 100 people, 110 people. And, so the word is starting to get out, that it is possible to do this, without the performance answer.
Especially with awareness and all that sort of stuff, and how you guys impact young people. Because you guys look like gods when you're up on stage, and you put a lot of hard work into that, and you have these young people that see like, man, I'd love to do that too. So that's why this partnership's awesome, just to be able to show young people and even adult influencers that might be coaching their kids that, you can get to the top of your sport and you can get into bodybuilding. You don't have to use steroids in order to do.
Absolutely.
So what mechanism does the OCB have in place to prevent doping when it comes to the use in bodybuilding, like in your competitions?
So everyone in the show has to give a polygraph test before getting on stage, right? Usually the day before, you set an appointment, you go. Literally everyone that competes gets polygraphed, So that's first. Second, if you win a show, they're waiting for you to give a urine sample when you walk back. They are literally, it's funny. I remember the first show that I won, you celebrate on stage. It's a great thing. You walk back, they are literally standing there with a water bottle and a cup. And they follow you in and say like, you are not leaving without doing this, So,
Wow.
And then a couple weeks later, you actually get, the results in the mail from the OCB. They send you everything, show you that nothing was detected and everything like that. So, that's a great thing that the OCB does that I don't think a lot of other organizations do. And, now I just saw too that the OCB is actually stepping it up more and doing, they're going to mail out for a urine sample to the pros too. So it's just going to be a spontaneous testing for people when they're off season too. So it's like, they're going to be looking out for it now, even outside the shows too, because they want to bring it one step further. So they're really on the game, and just, hitting a lot of different angles. A lot of times the polygraph will wean people out right off the start, people knowing that they need to go and do that before the show. But if you win, man, they are literally waiting for you backstage.
So Shaun, tell us what it's like. Okay, so you get a polygraph test. Everybody has seen it in the movies. They hook you up and you get these little needles running and everything. What's it like? What questions they ask you? What's that like? People.
Dude, it's nerve-wracking for me every single time. I've taken so many of them.
Yeah.
They'll ask. There's a variety of different questions they ask. Like, have you thought about cheating on this this polygraph, or have you ever taken performance enhancing drugs, or have you tried these types of drugs or anything like that? Are you thinking about lying to me right now? All kinds of stuff. It's nerve-wracking. Whether you're telling the truth or not, it's just like, oh my gosh, so nervous. But like Greg said, it is really cool getting the drug test results back in the mail. Because, I remember a while back, I received it in the mail and I posted it. I took a picture of it and posted it on my Instagram. Like, these are for all the haters that are saying I'm on steroids, So it's a great confirmation for all the people that might be in question and stuff like that,
Yeah, there's no shortcuts for hard work. I know that's always been a question because when we, have had calls with you guys and I've understood the whole polygraph, but I didn't know, especially for some of the listeners, how that works. I'd be nervous too if you got called it. No matter what it is, somebody's asking you questions. You're hooked up to a machine. Like, what do I say? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully the need. So that's pretty cool, though. Now there's always the more obstacles that you have that prevent cheaters, because there's going to be cheaters in all sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just there. But the more obstacles you can put in place helps guys like you that are working hard every day to prevent the one come in and cheat and ruin it all. Because that's what you see in other sports. You take you get the home run derby night, right? You take a Major League Baseball player and talk with a lot of, especially the younger guys, and say, if I go and I have a good season, or I go on a hitting streak or something like that, or I'm pitching really well, the first question is, are you using steroids? And it shouldn't be that way. And we need to start recognizing, I think, as the general public, all of the guys like you guys that are doing it the right way. Those are the athletes we need to be promoting. Not talking on TV about who tested positive for steroids. Let's talk about the guys that have worked hard, that have got to the top of their sport, that are picking up other people. You know, they're winning events and they're doing it without the use of drugs. That's what we believe in. I know you guys believe in the same thing, but it's always good to continue talking about that. So I want to go first to Shaun, then we'll go to Greg. Why is it important for you guys to compete all me and do it without the use of drugs?
Well, you know, for me, you can only go so far, man. Like, health is top priority. You can have all the money in the world, all the fame in the world. You can do everything, right? But without your health, you don't have any of that, right? I don't care if you got $1 million, man. If you're so fat or so unhealthy that you can't get out of bed, that's a miserable life, right? So I believe in health, man. I want to make sure that I'm healthy. I live a long, healthy life to the best of my ability without, you know, intentionally adding anything that could harm my body, right? And of course, overall, man, I mean, just it's not worth it to me personally. You know, it may be for some other people. You know, that's great. To each its own. But I mean, not over here. And also, you know, before I ever competed, and right when I was entering my very, very first show, I'll never forget, there was this one guy in the locker room. He saw me, because I was like practicing my posing, right, getting ready for this show. And he saw me. He's like, "Oh, you getting ready for a competition?" I was like, "Yeah." You know, I told him what competition it was or whatever else. And he's like, "You natural?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm natural." He's like, "Man, you don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance. You'll never make it competing natural, because even in natural organizations, they still sneak people in and blah, blah, blah." So I made it my duty and obligation to make sure that I proved that guy wrong.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of proving people wrong, man. It just does nothing but motivate me. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Shaun nails it with that, right? Health has always got to be your number one priority, right? Without that, you have nothing, right? And sadly, you know, I see the OCB commenting on it too. We all know people that have been in the situation that your family went through too. Sadly, I've seen it recently, you know, and it's just it's a horrible situation, you know, for so many people that are involved. And, you know, so again, like, yeah, if you don't have your health, you have nothing, right? So number one, right? Number two, I always, you know, and it kind of comes off with what Shaun's saying too, is you want to prove your work ethic to people too. You know, I want to prove to people how hard I'm willing to work every single day, right? That I'm trying to put in more time and more effort than the next guy, you know? So, you know, to me, it's like, I show up every day and I want to prove to everyone out there that, you know, I work on this morning, night, every single day. And, you know, I want to, you know, just prove to the world how much work I'm willing to do and how much effort I'm willing to put into this, you know? And it just goes on, you know, like what Shaun says there, where you have so many doubters, you have so many haters, you have so many whatever that don't think you can do that. It's like, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong then, you know? And then, you know, that's what drives me every day. You just, you know, not necessarily that you just want to prove everyone wrong. You want to prove it to yourself too, you know, that, you know, you can go against what everyone thinks is the only way to do something.
And I also think too, I mean, especially for the young people listening, is, I mean, you guys have to work hard. I mean, you're not somewhere you can take a week off before a competition, you know, and relax and have your cheat meals, do this and that. I mean, it's hard work. It's dedication. I mean, you've got to dedicate time in the gym. You got to dedicate your nutrition. I mean, there's time away from your family. Like any other professional sport, it's not just easy. It's not like you just show up to the gym for an hour a day, you know, go grab some fast way home, and then 2 weeks later, it just doesn't work like that.
No, I mean, that's the thing. It's just like, you know, everything adds up. What you're doing on the weekends, what you're doing, you know, like you say, on those days that you don't feel like showing up, that you don't feel like working out, that you don't feel like eating right, you know, like all that, it just adds up. Now, I'm not saying you need to be 100% perfect 100% of the time, but you got to give yourself a lot of time and you got to put a lot of effort into it. You wake up early every day, you plan your days, you know, again, like, you know, I'm a personal trainer. I train a lot of people throughout the day. So you're trying to time when you're getting your own workout in, like you said, when you're spending time with your family, when you're, yeah, there's a lot to it, but it's just, I think Shaun will agree, it all comes down to just proper planning and then just putting the effort and following through every single day, you know, and even on the weekends count too, you know, you have to show up.
And just think, if you're going to add, performance enhancing drugs, right, you're going to get on that. It's not long lasting results. The moment you get off of that, everything begins to decline, right? It's like the old saying goes, a fence that goes up fast falls down fast, right? People are always looking for the lottery approach. I call it the lottery ticket approach to life, right? They want the shortcut. They want immediate results versus making their life a sculpture. Just each day, just chip away at your sculpture, make your life a sculpture, right? But people look for the shortcuts, and it bites them in the butt.
Yeah, there absolutely aren't any. So when it comes to education on appearance and performance substances, there isn't much out there that's impacting the young lives that are out in our schools. You guys are young and have been through, the schooling system. And while I remember you touched on it in health class, some of the side effects, really didn't understand what the drugs were, where they came from, the outside stuff, but we never talked about the heart and, the mental aspect of it. So why, so as the Taylor Hooton Foundation, we're out there delivering these all me assembly programs, essentially trying to educate young people that are adult influencers and working with guys like you, professional athletes that have done it the right way and that did it without the use to inspire them to do it the right way. So do you remember class like looking about appearance enhancing substances?
Not as much as we should have. Definitely not. I learned, from my dad when he was teaching me early on, kind of obviously to stay away and how dangerous they were and everything. But outside of that, definitely not enough in schools, definitely not enough in sports. You kind of just, learn it, like you said, like when you're watching your favorite athletes growing up and then all of a sudden they start getting in trouble for things. And then, and then I almost started to do my own research on it a little bit, and when you're a kid and you see your favorite athletes are doing this stuff, it starts to put like a weird influence on you, so it definitely needs to be talked about at an earlier age. We went obviously in baseball. I was a huge baseball fan, right? And then when I'm coming up and you get the whole Balco thing and the whole Mark McGuire thing and all that, it's like these are the guys that you're looking up to every single day. And so you start to kind of like do your own research. At least I did on it, you start to realize the dangers and everything that come with it, So I almost feel like I self-taught a lot of my, a lot of my information came from just looking things up and, just kind of learn through experience that way.
Which there's a lot of positive too. Also, it's sad that like schools aren't.
Yeah.
Shaun, what about you? You grew up in a different school district and all that sort of stuff. Did you ever have any education on this topic?
No, sadly I didn't, but I did hear stories from individuals, and that was enough for me. The stories were enough for me. Man, I'll never forget, man. I was talking to this guy in the gym, and he said, "Hey, man, look, never take steroids." And like, he had like enlarged like breasts, man. I was like, "Oh my God, man."
Yeah, that'll do it right
I was
there.
like, "Look, I'm good. I'm good, man. Say no more."
Yeah. A lot of the side effects out there that even, we do programs for professional athletes all the way down to middle school kids, but there's a lot of stuff, even when you're talking with adults, they have no idea some of these side effects can take place. Because again, you kind of, I don't want to use the word glamorize, but like when somebody tests positive performance enhancing drugs, it's big news. Everybody's talking about it, right? And especially like you guys said, as a young kid, watching some of these athletes that test positive, you've grown up adoring, and you're like, man, that's how they did it. Do I have to use drugs to get that level? And obviously the answer is no. So I want to talk with you guys. I've been really excited to ask you some of these questions because I want to talk about your training and nutrition. Because, working in different sports like football and baseball, it's very similar, but also very different from what you guys do getting ready for a competition. So when it comes to one of your bodybuilding shows, right, and you've got to get your body in tip-top shape to compete with all these other competitors, let's start with Greg, and then we'll go to Shaun. What does your training routine look like going up to a show? Because I'm interested to see the same or if they're a little bit different, if everybody kind of treats that differently.
Yeah, I think a lot of people treat it differently. They find what works best with their own body, whether they have to work around any injuries or anything like that, old sports injuries. But me personally, I'm very much into powerlifting. And I think a lot of bodybuilders don't take the powerlifting approach. They kind of see it as like a different approach. Before bodybuilding, I actually competed in powerlifting first. I've always just found like the strong guys to be, real fascinating. And so I'm really big into doing all the heavy squatting, deadlifting, benching, like all those main movements, and everything heavy. I do a lot of low rep stuff. We get a good mix of, everything in, but I train 5 days a week, 6 days a week, maybe. Honestly, as I get a little bit closer, I actually cut down a little bit sometimes just because recovery's not as good as you're getting a little bit closer to a show and all. But yeah, so I do a lot of, like, my split mainly is like a push pull leg day, they call it, so you're doing a lot of squats, a lot of deadlifts, a lot of benching, a lot of shoulder pressing, all that kind of stuff. But to me, it's the consistency of it, and I focus on getting stronger over time, right? So if I lift a weight this week, my goal is to add 5 pounds to that next week. My goal is to do more reps of it, do more sets of it. And, and the consistency is just, what it's all about at that point. Progressive overload, they call it. You're just trying to add volume to your workouts over time, and then I just try to make sure I leave enough time to keep it slow and steady. So you're not just trying to grind it out for the last 3 months. You're trying to make sure you're keeping it consistent for a long time leading up to it. So, but yeah, very much powerlifting approach, and on my end.
What about your nutrition? I mean, how do you approach your nutrition as you're leading up to a show? Is it the same throughout the year, or?
Yeah, so the main thing that changes with me is just how much I'm eating, really. I eat a lot of the basic foods and everything. I work with a coach. I work with Joe Franco, who's actually a promoter for the OCB too. He runs a few shows a year. But, the way we kind of approach it is like a flexible dieting approach, where I still eat a lot of, all the nutritious foods, a lot of fruits, vegetables, and everything like that. But I track how much I'm eating too, to make sure my calories are in check. So then as I get closer to a show and as I'm trying to lean out, I'm really just eating less than what I'm, eating on a normal basis. So I don't go from eating garbage food and all that to all of a sudden on this meal plan where I'm just eating chicken and vegetables every day. I still find a good balance of foods, and I work in, normal foods, and I just monitor how much I'm eating and make sure I'm hitting all the right macronutrients, eating a lot of, good nutritious stuff, and water, a lot of water, a gallon of water a day, every day. So, but yeah, I mean, it's all about the consistency of it. Again, I find a good balance of foods. So, that makes it easier to be consistent too, where, one day you want to eat chicken, one day you want to eat steak, one day you want to eat potatoes, one day you want to eat bread. You find that balance of everything,
What about you, Shaun? So does yours differ? I mean, how often are you working out? How long do you work out? What's your nutrition look like?
So, generally, when I'm getting ready for a show, it can range from 14 to 16 weeks out. That's when I actually get serious with my training and nutrition. Training days typically, Greg said he did some powerlifting. I do kind of 50-50. I like to work on a lot of machines too, to work on detail, right? I like to typically I'll work out about 5 to 6 days per week.
Okay.
Sometimes I might work, 2 days off a day, 2 days off another day, right? I like to make sure I get good rest when necessary. I have a prep coach who does all my meal plans for me. I'm not a picky eater. And like Greg said too, for the most part, I eat pretty healthy year round. Most of it, chicken, ground beef. I eat a lot of steak, salmon, stuff like that. Always vegetables and clean carbs. Thankfully now I'm partnered with a meal prep company, so I can just kind of tell her what I want, and she will ship the meals to me, which is very, very convenient because I cannot stand cooking for meal prep. I love cooking, but for meal prep, it's different.
I agree.
So busy. all the time.
Yeah.
Drenched. So, but yeah, man, that's pretty much how I train.
So when you guys say you're going to the gym and you're training, and let's say you both said about 5-6 days a week, how like hours would you spend in the gym for like a training session?
Personally, not really much more than an hour.
Okay.
I don't really have much time to, do past that. But again, I'm kind of just a get in and get out type. Get in, just get to work, and get on. I don't have a lot of time to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. I work in a gym and I can't even do that. So, but yeah, like I just get in. I have a plan, like I kind of touched on earlier. You go in and it's like, all right, this is what I'm going to do now. This is what's next. This is the weight that I did last week. So this is what I need to do moving forward to make sure that I'm progressing properly, So I'm huge on planning. I wake up, I'm up at 4:30 every day. And just saying like, all right, I have this client here, this is when I'll work out. This is when I'll eat something, and just make sure you get it done by the end of the day. So yeah, I mean, an hour probably, give or take. Yeah, I guess depending on the day, if I'm doing a bigger thing, maybe a couple minutes more. But again, not a lot of time to play around. So just get in and get out.
You guys probably have bills just like we do, right?
Yeah, sadly.
Shaun, what about you? I mean, same sort of setup. Are you in the gym any more or less than Greg?
Like Greg said, it really just depends on the day, right? A lot of times it's about an hour to an hour and a half, just depending on what body muscle groups I'm working out. Like a leg day or chest day.
Legs take a long time.
Yeah, man, I got to rest. Back days are usually the longest days for me.
Okay. More is just because there's more exercises for the back.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a large muscle group, man, and there's a variety of different exercises that I'm working on. So sometimes it can take a little longer. So
for the young people that either are tuned in, or we're going to put this out on our YouTube channel and we'll share it throughout, and we're doing programs with like young people know, hey, come check out our YouTube channel. We've got videos out there to see. But even for those parents that are out there, what age do you think that it's okay for a young person to start weight training? Because I mean, I remember growing up like, oh, don't touch weights till you can shave, things. But I mean, what would be your advice for a parent or a young person that wants to get into weight training?
I mean, I started when I was 14.
Yeah, I was 15, but I think you could even go a little bit younger than that. Again, you might not be in there slamming heavy weights around. Like you might get in there as a teenager and just learn the basic movement patterns. I think that's the most important thing. You're kind of laying your foundation right there for when you can start adding a lot of weight to your body, and as you start filling out naturally with age, you kind of lay that foundation early on. If you're doing that at 13 years old, I don't see any problem with that. Again, you might not be powerlifting and doing 1 rep max stuff, but if you're learning the basic fundamentals of how to do a proper squat movement and all that, you can do that pretty early on. Like I said, I was 15 and had no issues and started lifting pretty hard early on too. But I bet you could push that even a little bit longer.
So, Shaun, let's say, I'm a parent or a young person. I'm interested. I'm 12, 13 years old. I want to get in the gym. I want to start lifting weights. Where's the best place to go learn? I mean, do I just show up at there? What would you recommend?
You said where's the best place to learn?
Yeah, where do I go to learn? Because I know it's all about form. You can hurt yourself not doing things, or you're goofing around. Do it a gym, not a place to play. But where would you learn to do things properly, to get the fundamentals down?
Yeah, definitely want to get a personal trainer, some type of a coach that can assist you and teach you proper form, because you start young and you start off wrong with the incorrect form, you can have an injury for life, man. Yep. Wrong form for the rest of your life, when I first started, I was doing squats incorrectly because I wasn't really paying attention, right? And my knee was hurting back then. I started, like I said, when I was 14, for football, weight training class and everything else. So they had us in there pushing weight, hard. Got to get bigger, got to get faster, got to get stronger, So we're in there slinging weights, and they've taught us proper form and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I was doing squats a little incorrectly first.
I was in the same boat as you. I was doing squats one day, actually, gym, and one of the trainers came over. He's like, "Dude, do your knees hurt?" I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "You need to kind of turn your toes out a little bit." Nobody's ever told me that. But I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, we had a little rinky-dink gym at our high school, but I really didn't start lifting weights till I was in college. Obviously, playing baseball, you know, and you have a strength coach there that's helping you. But I think that's great advice, especially if somebody goes to them. Just don't go trying to throw a bunch of weight around. Start light. Find somebody that knows what they're doing that they can actually help you. So that
One thing that I always liked with it was one workout can't make you, but it can break you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like if you're, you know, like I said, you're not going to change your whole body, your physique or strength overnight, but you mess up one thing pretty bad, you know, and that catches up pretty quick. So an injury can happen a lot faster than you changing your whole, you know, physique overnight.
Yeah. So if you could each give one young person a tip, if they're going to the gym for the very first time, like, well, and Shaun, we'll start with you. What tip would you give them?
Don't take shortcuts. Don't take shortcuts, and be careful of who you take advice from, first off. And like I said before, you know, don't take the lottery ticket approach, meaning trying to get fast, immediate results. Do it the correct way. And, you know, really educate yourself on everything revolving whether it's a sport, you know, lifting or anything like that. Educate yourself before you get into it, because it's all about really how you start.
Yep. And the thing, like, people really undervalue the basics of things. You know what I mean? I still, like, I think where I am now with bodybuilding is because I mastered the basics early on. You know, the basic things, the basics of the diet, the basics of the workout are the things that I still use today. You know, I just started them early on and stayed consistent with them and never stopped. You know, so like Shaun said, I mean, you know, take your ego out of it, you know, and just start small and just build momentum. Everything's built on momentum, you know. So I know it's tough as a kid. You want to get in there, you want to throw as much weight around as you can, but like I said, that's going to short-live your career right there, you know. So if you start with those basics and just continue to build those habits, you know, and trust that, you know, time is the most important thing, you know, and the more that you put in, more effort you put in, the better the athlete you're going to be down the road.
Yeah. And I think that goes with anything, but that's just tremendous advice for young people to know, especially are interested in getting into this sport, you know, where they can go get information and, you know, just the things they really need to be looking out for. And on top of that, it's nutrition. I've always had people tell me forever, you know, you can never out-train a bad diet. So you can't eat 10 cheeseburgers and then go lift weights for 10.
Yeah, sadly.
Can't do that. I have had the opportunity to spend some time with some professional athletes outside the game. These dudes can eat, and they can eat some really bad food, and they just look amazing. So there are a couple people that can do that, but very, very few.
Yeah, we don't like.
It can only last so long, though.
Away with that, you know.
Hit 30, man. Oh, and then, the whole body changes. So no, I wanted to be able to, you know, I know I'm a little bit over the time. But I'd love to see if anybody has any questions, because I had a couple folks that had sent me an email before. If we don't get any questions here in the chat, look, if you guys have any questions for Greg or Shaun, let them know now. They can read them as well. If not, I have 3 questions somebody had sent in that they wanted to ask you guys. So while we wait, you're getting a lot of hearts. That's really good. So so the one question was, how hard is it to stick with your diet leading up to a show? And I guess the second part of that question would be, do you have any cheat days? I guess Shaun, we'll start with you on this one.
For me personally, it's not hard to follow a meal plan for me at all. Yes, I do have cheat days, or cheat meals rather, not cheat days. And the preferred cheat meal is or tacos. Tacos are my absolute favorite food on the planet.
I see you post about them like every other day, Shaun.
I don't care if I'm on prep or off prep, man. Tacos are here to stay.
So you don't get up in the morning, have a real bad breakfast, just let it roll all day. It's just one meal.
Exactly. Yeah.
What about you, Greg?
Yeah, and you know, again, the longer I've been doing it, the easier it is to kind of stay on point. As you, I always just think of the goal, right? Think of why you're doing this. But again, kind of coming back to my approach with, taking a little bit more of a flexible approach. Again, I'm not eating, like you said, like 10 cheeseburgers or anything like that. But what I always try and do is if I wanted to have something like that, I just try to adjust my day around it. So maybe save a few calories, from a meal here, make a lunch a little bit smaller, something like that, just so I can almost like fit something like that in. So I do eat a lot of the basics that like Shaun was talking about too, a lot of, ground beef, steak, all that kind of stuff. But what keeps me on point and makes it a little bit easier, if I've been dieting for a long time and I want to work something in to just kind of from a mental standpoint, I'll make sure that I kind of balance that into my routine. So at the end of the day, my calories are still on point. I made sure I hit the protein that I needed to. And then you get right back on to what you were. Again, I don't even look like it being off track. It's kind of just you worked it into your day, And to me, that's what's really built a lot of sustainability over the years, because it's like I'm not feeling like I'm depriving myself. And maybe the last like couple weeks leading into a show, I really, cut a lot of food variety out and really get specific. But up until that point, I really try to keep, foods that I enjoy into it to make it more sustainable. So, and that makes dieting way easier.
Yeah, probably not crushing a bunch of tacos show.
Yeah, Shaun does that.
So here, somebody, how low do your carbs get in the 8 to 10 weeks leading up to a show?
Oh man, you might be mad to hear my number. I can go pretty high on carbs. The last 8 weeks, I'm trying to think. I was still in the 200s at that point, which I know is low, maybe, for some people, but I thought it was good enough to still fit foods in, I'm at like 350 right now. So, when I'm around there, probably in the twos, low twos, somewhere around there when it's really getting into crunch time.
Okay. What about you, Shaun? Same?
Somewhat. I mean, peak week, they get pretty low. I think peak week, I drop my carbs to about 80.
Cool.
80 a day. It really just depends on, how I'm coming in, and what approach my coach is setting for me. So, but usually throughout prep, before peak week and stuff like that, it always stays pretty high. I stay pretty lean. Carbs really help me a lot, and they don't really work against me.
Yeah, and I think that kind of comes into like what Shaun's saying there was staying lean and almost staying ready. If you don't blow up in your off season, you're able to keep those calories up for longer, So that's where the value of time is so important, right? If you're not eating 50 grams of carbs at 4 months out because you're, maybe not that far away, you're always kind of in like a striking distance. So when you roll into, like Shaun said, maybe the last like 12 weeks, you're just tightening things up. And, just kind of bringing a little bit more out of you. I know Shaun's naturally, stays lean all year too. So it's like, it just makes like that crunch time just so much easier. So you don't really have to go as low. Yeah, I think that's important. I think a lot of people now are not giving themselves enough time to compete. So they either come in not tight enough or they're doing crazy things to get there, And then that's when people start slamming supplements and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's just like, it's really just, they aren't ready. They didn't give themselves enough time.
Yeah, I mean, and it sounds like both of you guys, I mean, you take care of yourself all year round. It's not just, hey, I'm getting ready for the show. You guys, I mean, this is a lifestyle for you guys to take care of.
That's it. That's how it has to be.
Police Fitness Nutrition asks, what's your prep cardio routine?
So for me, again, it kind of comes along the lines on that is like, I really just monitor almost how many steps I'm taking in a day. I like the idea of having a step requirement where, again, I might train 10 people in a day and do my own workout. So I might hit 15,000 steps just from work, So to me, I don't really need to go and do more. I think it's just redundant at that point. Now, if someone had a sedentary job, maybe, you go and do a little bit more, but I would say no more if I needed to. 20 minutes walking on the treadmill, something like that, low intensity just to get some more steps in. But yeah, really not a lot of, I'm not a runner. I'm not anything like that. So I just make sure that I'm really just taking enough steps. So I think if I'm anywhere between like 10 and 15,000 steps a day, then I'm good to go. The rest just comes from the diet being on point.
Okay. What about you, Shaun?
I bounce back and forth between the Stairmaster and the treadmill. That's what works best for me. Might be interval, might be just steady pace. Just really all depends.
That Stairmaster will make a man out of you too.
Oh man,
It will.
Trust me, I've done my share of that too. That thing's a pain. So yeah, it's a pain.
I'll watch people. I'll get to the gym and I'm there about an hour. They're on that Stairmaster. When I get there, still on it when I leave. Dude, that's
yeah.
So the last question that we had gotten from you guys was, how many calories do you intake each day?
Currently, we're in season. Currently,
yeah,
I'm at like 3,000 right now, give or take.
Okay. What about like if you're prepping for a show in season?
Maybe lower twos, somewhere around there. But again, it's a slow and steady thing. So if I was at 3,000 right now, I'm not just going to drop it to 2,200 tomorrow. Like it might go to 2,800 and I'll ride that out for a couple weeks and let your body adapt to that and then drop it down to 2,700. Again, like I said, I work with a coach on all that. So we kind of just monitor it week by week, but I make sure I leave enough time that, I'm not just going for, dropping 700 calories a day. I like to do it in 100-calorie intervals or increments, something like that, 150 calories. So you can still keep your training intense. You want to make sure that you're eating enough that you can still keep your intensity there and your energy's there as long as you can, But yeah, right now, 3,000, give or take.
How about you, Shaun?
Well, currently, let's see. I'll just talk about a prep. Prep, typically it ranges around, like Greg, about 2,000-ish, depending on how close I am to the show.
Okay.
In an off season, it's typically, I can go pretty high. 3,500, something like that. This really all depends on where I'm at on a prep or what my goals are,
Yeah,
it kind of fluctuates.
Burning a ton of calories too, man. So this has been awesome. For both you guys, so for everybody listening and that's going to tune in later, what's the best way they can come find you guys on social media to see all the great things that you're doing?
So you could just go on Facebook. It's just my name, Greg O'Brien, or Instagram. It's Greg O'Brien Fitness, and anyone can reach out at any point. I'm always at my phone. Not always. If I'm with a client, I'm not, but I always get to it later on by the end of the day. So if anyone has a question, feel free to reach out.
Great. What about you, Shaun? Give him a shout out, man.
So, and for me, you can just, a lot of people hit me up on Instagram. It's Shaun Canoy. You can look me up on my website. It's ShaunCanoy.com. I have a lot of men's physique posing links on there and stuff like that. I got a whole course. Yeah, I get on Facebook some, not so much, but you can look me up on there too, Shaun Canoy. I'm the only Shaun Canoy out there, so pretty easy to find.
A little different last thing. Make sure too, what I'll do is once I get it posted out on YouTube stuff, I'll make sure we tag you guys or at least put your social media stuff so people can find you. But I know you guys see this is such a cool partnership, and we're just so excited to have two professional athletes like you guys that work hard, that are sharing your knowledge, that are also inspiring young people to want to do things the right way, to live and compete without the use of drugs. And we just appreciate you guys so much, one, spending time with us tonight, but also stepping forward, and standing with us in this fight to enlighten people to the truths about appearance and performance and substances.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk for you guys. It's really, really something else that you guys are doing.
No, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm honored, man. It's really excited to, help educate some of these younger people and let them know that there's other alternatives and that they can do well in sports without taking performance-enhancing drugs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for your time, man. We appreciate it. Hope to see you guys soon, too.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Have a good night.
All right. Thanks. Bye.